So we're here for the third piece of this series on the tax windfall, and as Representative Les Mason said, it's a little bit of a misnomer to call it a tax windfall. We're going to move on to the business side now, and Stephen, the business side is very complicated. It's even hard for most of us to understand it. You've had a really deep dive in it, probably understand it as well as anybody. Could you break it down in simple terms so our people out there can understand that?
Well, I'm not sure actually, and I wouldn't claim to have an understanding of it, but I know the questions that I want to ask. So, and there's a number of components to the business side, and the repatriation word is the one that I hear the most often. It's actually the smallest impact. It's almost negligible as you go forward, although it is $10 million in the first year. That one, the question is, did we ever intend to tax those dollars? We do tax foreign dividends in Kansas. We have taxed them consistently. These deemed earnings from the federal government policy now, is that really a foreign dividend? Or am I taxing a port that somebody invested in another country since 1986? So we just have to have a good handle. Did we intend to tax that? The next one is the global intangible low taxed income, or GILTI. That's a larger chunk. What's most relevant here, that one feels like more of a dividend that we have taxed, but the Tax Foundation, who has testified on a number of things, including restoring some of the things in 2017, actually came to testify and said where we are the least competitive is in our corporate tax structure. And in fact, we're one of less than half a dozen states that tax those types of dollars this high. And they recommended cutting that corporate rate. I think what we have to look at is, would I cause a global company to reduce the size of their footprint in Kansas, which is jobs? What do I want Spirit to do in Kansas? What do I want those companies to be incented to do? Something we just have to look at before we say, oh, we think you should bear the burden. It's too easy for them to look at other opportunities on that. The biggest part is actually on the business interest expense deduction, and that was one that was intended to come back in the policy that we had changed also, and that is actually for small business largely. And that one has been missed in the discussion, but probably has the biggest ongoing fiscal note. So the key is, in each case, how do we make sure that our tax policy incents the thing that we want? Because we don't want to have one that drives things away. And unfortunately, some of these can be measured to do that.
So the last thing in this piece is, what happens on April 15th if we do nothing?
The bottom line would be a tax increase.
So everybody in the state of Kansas gets to pay more.
Actually, a select group, would
yeah,
get to pay significantly more, and we need to make sure that's the group we'd intend to do that.
So I hope this has answered some of your questions this week on what we're dealing with here in the State House. This is the end of our three-part series. Stay tuned, because I guarantee you will see more from us. We want to get information out to you, and this is a great way to do it. Thank you for listening.